Hello,
Hello and
hello.
good morning.
Good morning to everyone. Thank you for coming.
We hope you can hear and see us, and we would welcome you to say hello so that we're sure that we're actually live this time. And my camera is working here, at least from my side. Edita is always here, and this is great. Okay, there's nothing yet, but
Nothing yet.
maybe it's a delay. It's a technical issue that it's a delay until we get some additional feedback. Okay,
Possible.
Deepa, will you present what we'll talk about today? Hopefully, we
Okay.
are live.
Sure. Hopefully. If not, the two of us can chat. Why not?
Yeah.
About the minimalist approach. The idea is that if we take consistent small steps, we could improve anything. And this is true for English, and this is true for making videos. Would you agree?
hmm Yeah, yeah. I'd say the technique and how to get into videos is very similar to teaching a language, and the fears are also very similar because you are trying something new, something that some other people are more accustomed to. At least that's what you think they are, and this is, I'd say, very similar fear.
Yeah. And I think with language, there's no upper limit as to how much you can improve. Would you say there's like a final goal when it comes to video?
If there is any final goal, well, I don't think so. Maybe if you're, I don't know, Mr. Beast. I don't know if you know this YouTuber which has a million billion views per video, and he's so above everybody else. But I don't think any of us needs to go that way because there is really the upper, not the upper class, the top class of video production there.
Right. And we are talking about numbers. But I guess one thing that I can tell my students that is kind of the final goal, even though the language can still improve, is being really confident and feeling like it's a natural thing to do. Would you say that's
hmm
valid for video?
Yeah, yeah. When you just see it as just a usual point of communication, like directly face to face, and you can also do some kind of a live, even like this. So uh, maybe presenting in front of more people than one to one. So yeah, I'd say it this way.
Okay.
What would you say about English? Does it need to be spoken in front of more than one person? Do you need to have this ability to say, okay, now I know English, or I'm fluent with English or any other
Yeah.
language?
Yeah, this is not as much about knowing or fluency, it's about using it. You either
hmm
use it or you lose it. And this is the natural way we use language with multiple people communicating in a way that's spontaneous. It can be more or less fluent, even if
hmm
we do need to search for that one word or sentence at times. The communicative goal is still accomplished, and that's the important part.
Yeah, yeah. I'd say yeah, this is important, but I'd say also there is a bit of a difference when you're talking with maybe someone you know, and there is additional pressure on you when you're speaking with someone, some stranger or even group of strangers, and then you tend to forget things that you usually know in the other situations.
That's true. But I think that if we don't speak with mistakes and with that problem of losing words and being a bit confused and afraid, then we won't get to the next step. So this awkward
Yeah.
part is kind of unavoidable. And
hmm
I can relate to that doing these videos, right? The first one was much more awkward. This
Okay.
one is less so, and I already feel more comfortable. What was your journey with video?
hmm Okay. Is it maybe because I'm still here and I haven't disappeared yet, or is it because it's the second time?
Is it because it's because a second time and because you seem to be here? So I think both.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. I just switched to Croatian. Yes. Okay. Let's start with our topic. Uh, do you think that you need actually some courses to start improving and learning English?
No, I don't think that's true for almost anything. I think everything can be learned um, on your own, or not necessarily alone, because other people are generally involved in you testing out things and communicating, but you don't necessarily need a teacher or a mentor. And when it comes to language, at some stages of learning, you won't have a teacher or a mentor. It's just what normally happens. But I think the minimalist approach there is actually to have teachers and mentors at some points, because it
hmm
saves you time and because it gives you motivation and accountability, which are those really big factors that I think are missing
hmm
a lot of the time when we try to do things alone. I can say that as a learner, right? There's so
Okay.
many things that you can find online, read about, study on your own. But if you don't have somebody to push you through it a bit, to structure it a bit, then it takes much longer and you're much more likely to give up.
Yeah. So basically, if you want to learn it as fast as possible and have some accountability buddy, but also with help that teacher could provide you with better pointing out your mistakes, courses are much better thing.
Yeah, yeah, you can identify the gaps faster, but also it happens a lot with my students who are on a more advanced level. They're more aware of how much they can do as well because of the positive feedback. And
hmm
that helps. I know it helps me with other things as well. So it's one of those easier things to do for saving time, but not necessarily money. Something is normally sacrificed with the
Yeah.
two
Okay.
approaches.
And there's also issue of money that some might not see that way. But if you invest some money in learning a new skill, you will be also more invested in it to start learning. Then okay, it doesn't cost me anything. Maybe next week, maybe next month, year, and when you put some money in it, you will actually want to finish it and learn along the way.
Yeah, absolutely. There's that psychological factor as well. What do you think about courses and making videos and photography?
Well, I'd say it's very similar. Accountability buddies are always a great thing to have when you're in a group course, and having someone to correct you when you do some mistakes and you don't see them, it's really helpful and makes you move faster toward the goal. But it's not really necessary. Everything is available, especially on YouTube, regarding the video and the learning of all the techniques, all the technology, and it's really possible to just learn from all these how-tos. You need to find the right one for you, but I'd say it doesn't really matter, and some people tend to learn better when they're alone, and some when they're in a group or with the teacher one-on-one. So it also depends on the style of how the person learns the best.
Yeah, well, I can say when it comes to video, from my example, I know that I have all of those resources available, but it's much easier to have you as an accountability buddy and somebody to push me forward to do something than to sit there and, calculate how many years should I study
Yeah,
this before I feel
and
comfortable.
even move myself out of the way when I'm sure you can do it yourself. Why not? Perhaps there will be camera issues today also. Who knows? Okay, we better not. We shall not, better not go that way. Okay, on the topic of minimalism. Okay, minimalism. Before I ask another question, I shall also ask our viewers if you have some question or remark towards what we're talking about, go ahead and please do comment, and we'll see that comment. And still, nobody did acknowledge that we're live, so perhaps we're not even live and we're chatting between ourselves. Okay, that's also okay. At least I'm speaking English a bit today, so it's
Yeah,
okay for
you're
me.
practicing.
Practicing, why not? It's great this way also. So regarding the minimalism, what would you say are these minimal small steps that lead you towards learning the language?
Okay, well, there's really a lot of things that we can do. Starting with the passive skills, exposure. I think this is where most of us start by listening to shows, movies, reading things online. Right? People say they don't like reading, but they read all kinds of posts and messages all day long, right? If not books. So
Hmm.
that would be the first step. And I encourage my students normally to find things that are very interesting to them. Sometimes people make the mistake of watching or reading or listening to something that they think they should because, it's related to their field or whatever. But if you find
Hmm.
it boring, if it's difficult to go through, then it's not going to motivate you to look up a word or try to understand it a bit better. If somebody made a joke in the show, for instance, right? If it's not funny, then you're not likely to use that later on. After the passive stage, let's say, or the part, um, starting with written communication is a good way
Okay.
to warm up towards speaking.
Hmm.
And this can be different things. It can be journaling for people who like that sort of thing. You could write down one thing that you learned from something you read or listened to, regardless of the language.
Hmm.
You could write things about your life, like the classic journaling. You can write comments online because those you can check, right? You can see, ooh, did I write anything wrong? There are always spell checkers and such that you can use, especially when you're just starting out. One thing that I recommend to students who really love movies is to start writing reviews. So something like Letterboxd, you know, you can write a one sentence review for a movie. Sometimes these are more popular and interesting for people.
Yeah,
So
and
start with something like
regarding
that.
this,
Hmm.
is it perhaps a good way to start passively learning language with the movies, perhaps?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Hmm.
Movies, shows, anything that you can find in English, YouTube videos, right? There's so much content, right? We don't have an excuse these days. We can find even the most niche interests that you have. You can find some content about it in English. So this is where most people
Exactly.
start naturally anyway. Another thing that I recommend to people who are very social is finding pen pals. this is a bit old-fashioned, but there are actually apps like one called Slowly, where you can do it digitally, and you can receive letters from people all over the world who are sometimes on a pretty low
Oh,
level of English.
I misheard you. I heard another word instead of pen pals, but okay.
Okay, uh, it's okay. Pen pals, yes.
Yeah, yeah, okay.
You can find people on social media to talk to. You know, you can leave those YouTube comments that you probably are reading because people like to feel the sense of community. So if you can find it for yourself virtually, that's one of the easiest ways to start expressing yourself in English. And then from there you can go to speaking, like, I don't know, LinkedIn audio events. We've had people talk to us even if they feel a bit afraid, because it was an opportunity to say a few sentences, maybe not, a whole essay or something particularly wise, but it's a place to chat. And we can find these places online fairly easily, but face to face as well. In any
Hmm.
major city, you will find conversation groups, or expat groups doing different things, hiking and so forth. As somebody who's lived in several countries, it's really not a difficult thing to do if
Hmm.
you feel ready. So if you have somebody to push you a bit, this would be a really nice way to start practicing, maybe even on a daily basis, the speaking part. And perhaps one thing that's going to become more and more popular is chatting with AI. You
Oh,
will have
verbal, you mean,
responses.
or
Yeah,
just via text?
you can start with writing, but there's also, yeah, the option to speak with it, to have,
Oh,
the sort of Alexa interactions.
yeah.
They're becoming normal
Siri,
and
Alexa,
sounding.
and
Yeah.
all those backward conversation. I'm sorry, I cannot understand what you're saying. And stuff.
It's getting much better, and there are dedicated chatbots
Yeah,
for language
but
learners.
they need to push you to express yourself better. Yeah,
Yeah,
why not?
yeah, yeah, yeah. There's that as well, for sure. Yeah, that's
That's
I,
very interesting idea. I must say I didn't look at it this way at all.
okay. There we go. So AI, I think this one's going to be taking a lot of attention space in the future of language learning, and it's a helpful one.
Mhm.
What about on your side? So I gave a lot of tips. There's plenty more that we can think of, but what about with you?
Yeah, I'm sure there is, like in video also. Like maybe the process of it, like you started, you should start with really, really small steps, like pointing the camera in your face and saying anything just to get accustomed to your voice and how you look on camera. So this is a great start. You don't need to share this video, and you probably wouldn't want to, but it's really a great start just to test it out, how it looks, and um, not to blame the camera or the microphone on your voice and the visuals, how you actually look on camera. And I'd say this is the biggest problem, at least with the video, that people think they need additional technology to look better on camera, to sound better. And it's mostly you need to get accustomed to uh, how you visually look on camera and what your voice sounds like, because you're not accustomed to these things to look at them that way. You can hear a voice from inside your head, and it's completely different than what others are hearing and what microphone is hearing. So the better camera or better microphone will not make it better than from the start. It's just the nuances there are in buying additional equipment. I'd say this is the biggest problem when people are starting. They think they need some kind of equipment. Well, usually it's the most expensive and the newest one. And once you get accustomed to it, to your voice and how you look on camera, you can start with just sending video messages to friends, uh, because they will probably not tease you because of it, and only one person will see this video message. So you're breaking the ice with just getting accustomed to other people seeing you on camera. After it, you can create videos, and what I usually like to say, even if you create a YouTube channel, maybe one person will see it in the start, perhaps zero, but it will be public there, and you will expose yourself, even if probably no one will see it. So it's just mentally preparing yourself that there is a possibility that someone will see you on camera, and you just go more from there, trying with some how-tos maybe on YouTube or other channels to see how to perfect your lighting, your uh, visual directly on camera, maybe your microphone or the sound. And with this, you will also get more self-confidence that you know how to do these things. So these are just the basic steps, I'd say. Do
Okay.
not go to create a live show just as a first thing that you want to do. That is not a good idea. It's a
Well,
big step.
this was my first step, so this was what I was going to
Yes,
ask
but
you.
let's say it's not your first step. I'd say you are working with the video every day, maybe a whole of your working day, because you are creating online education with other people, so you are presenting yourself on the camera every day, so it's nothing new to you. Maybe this is a new format that there are much more people looking at you who you cannot see on the other end, but it's not that much different than what you had been doing before. So it's not that big of a step for you. I'm saying, from somebody who just takes mobile phone, and yeah, basically mobile phone is enough to start with a video. You don't need any fancy equipment additional. You can just start uh, creating videos on a mobile phone, and starting from there and creating a live video show. So this is extra big step.
Yeah, I asked you because I think a lot of educators, and some of them might be watching, aren't aware how much experience they already have. That's one thing.
Exactly.
And for me personally, I find this format easier because there's someone to communicate with. And this is natural, right? You're there, we're
Hmm.
having a chat, so I can kind of forget about what's happening and that we're
Okay.
live. It's much harder for me to just look at myself and record myself without this extra input and interaction. It's less natural. How do you feel about
Okay,
that?
and I'd say there is a misconception that you need to look at yourself while you're creating a video or
Okay.
taking a video. It's better to use this. Oh, nearly dropped it. It's better to use this camera in the back,
Mm-hmm.
because it's a much better quality. And when you're just creating it this way, you do not see yourself. And if you're using a selfie camera in front where there is a screen, you will tend to look at yourself all the time. And this is also a bad thing, because it will basically look like this. Yeah, I'm just talking to the camera. I'm not talking to camera. I'm talking to the screen, actually, and people can see that you are looking yourself at yourself and not at the camera. So it's additional aspect that needs to be learned, and it's better to start with this back camera than the front one, the selfie camera.
Okay. Well, I'm looking at you, obviously, because that's the most natural situation for me. Um,
Okay.
uh, Do I appear as if I'm looking down then?
No, it
No?
doesn't appear now. No,
Okay.
no,
So that's
no.
an extra
But
point to lives
it's
with other people.
it depends how much you are away from the camera and how the camera is located to your screen. So it depends, but I see it as a beginner's error or mistake that they look at themselves. And it's a visual. If you're doing horizontal video, they are looking somewhere away, and there is disconnect between the person who is looking at the video and what you're trying to say there. This way.
That makes sense. What about
So
the
it's
equipment?
also just a small step, nothing else.
What about the equipment? Then you mentioned the phone is a good starting point. I know this is a question you get a lot, and it was the first question for me, right? What about all the hardware? Is there anything else
Yeah.
that you recommend apart from a phone?
Well, I'd say mobile phones today have cameras that are much more advanced than Hollywood cameras 20 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And we just marvel at these movies, how they look great. So, mobile phone camera is not just a starting point. Even for the pros who are creating videos as their job, it can be a main camera.
Mm-hmm.
So I'd say there is no real need to start looking for the new equipment if you don't see the need for it. One thing that could be added to it is a microphone, which could be either some headphones that you have. So there is also a microphone on the headphones, and this could be also a start at least. So not much additional equipment is needed to start with it.
Okay. What about the
So advice are usually about against buying new equipment because it will not make your videos much better. How you behave in front of a camera and how you look at how the light looks and how you position your camera is much more important than the equipment itself.
yeah, I think that most people would agree with that, and hopefully the content is
Yes,
what's
but
the most important thing.
yeah, but each one of us just wants to find the magic pill and okay, I'll buy this new camera and everything will look great out of the box. No.
Okay. We have a comment that the video is lagging, so audio is not synced with video. That sounds fun. So we have a different type of technical issue today.
Oh, it's Arnold. So hi, Arnold. At least
Hi.
we're alive, right?
Yeah.
If it's lagging, well, okay. At least you can see and hear us.
Fair enough. I can
We're
live with
happy
that.
that we're alive out there,
Yeah.
even if there is a lag. Okay, great.
Good to know. Well, that's one thing to mention as well. We had a lot of technical issues the first time. We have some smaller ones today. Um, it's something that I
Yeah,
had to kind of embrace because I really hate when these things happen during lessons. But it's a good way to start being a bit more relaxed. I think when things still work out, even with technical issues, it's the same kind of parallel with language. If you still get your message across, even with broken English, then imagine what will happen in a year when your English is much, much better.
yeah, exactly. So I'd say there is quite a lot of things that are common when learning and perfecting English, as in video. What would you say are mostly feared things when people either start learning and speaking English in front of other people or trying to improve it?
What are they mostly afraid of? Is the question.
Yeah. What
Yeah.
are their fears?
The fear of making mistakes, obviously, the topic of our first show. that's the major one, right? Because if I make a mistake, that means that I'm stupid, that I'm not professional, that I haven't been.
And we did a lot of mistakes in the last episode.
Oh yeah, and we're still making them. Obviously, there is a lag, and I have to tell you at the beginning of this show, related to what Darko was saying about the camera. My camera was a bit filthy because I touched it with my finger, so he told me to wipe it, and that's a much easier thing to do than to buy a new camera. So
And a much cheaper thing and
much
faster.
cheaper.
So, yeah, people usually say, "Oh, I need to buy a new mobile phone because my camera doesn't work that well. It's all just blurry and not working. So I need all the newest mega gigapixel ones because they advertise them as great, and most of the time it's just wipe it with basically with the cloth or your t-shirt, and it's working much better."
Yes, it's something to definitely take into consideration. I think a parallel there with a language is that you need to breathe and take time to form thoughts. And this is something that
Hmm.
happens to people a lot when they're nervous and anxious about saying something. They start speaking 100 miles an hour and they start to get all fluttery. And then a lot of the knowledge that they have might not necessarily people must trust us might not necessarily come across, and this is a
Yeah,
second
yeah,
fear.
yeah. So Arnold is actually referring to, I'd say, mistakes that we make here uh, here in the local Balkans area or so, with the pronunciation that is quite different than the native speakers.
Yeah, and I
So
don't
there
think
is
that's a
fear
mistake.
because of that.
I
Oh,
don't
that's a
take that as a
mistake.
mistake. No, that's not a mistake. That's just expressing yourself authentically, and I think there's charm in it, and that we should embrace it. But it's all about how you're feeling with it, right? You need to carry your accent just like you carry your persona on camera. This is about confidence and feeling good
Okay, so
about your
even if you
communication
sound
skills.
like a bulldozer, it's okay.
Of course it's okay. It's our
You
perception.
must trust me.
Yes. Hollywood pays good money
Okay.
for that kind of accent.
Yeah, if you're somewhere in the mob, Russian mob, probably, and but there are some grammatical errors in this sentence also. So what about that?
Um, it's all about the message that you're sending. I think the message was lost there, and that's where you get an issue because you can say the same sentence in a joking manner, like Arnold just did, and it did do its job, right? We understand what he's trying to say. So
Yeah.
that's the entire goal, right? To say what you're trying to say and to be understood and to connect with people that way.
Yes, but what I'd say about this sentence, okay, we shall repeat it. People must trust us. Okay, is that I don't know if it's a mistake. Please explain me this part. But that we, when we start learning another language, we tend to think in our own language
Mm.
and construct the sentences this way. And this sentence in Croatian, it was spoken by one of the Croatian politicians. This sentence in Croatian does make sense. In English, it's completely.
Um,
So, is there a mistake there that we should start thinking in English to speak better?
well, obviously, we need to respect the structure of the language that we're speaking in. And if we try to superimpose the structure of one language upon another, then, these communication errors happen. And I think the bigger issue here is that it sounds very robotic and a bit like, you're trying to impose people's trust as,
Hmm.
as an order in a way, which is not appropriate. I think maybe in any language,
Yeah, it's
even in
not that
Croatian.
harsh in Croatian. Maybe I don't know. I'd say there's also a lack of enough word knowledge of enough words there.
Yeah, but perhaps, yeah,
So
it's
there is only must and no difference gradations of this must there.
we need to take the context into consideration there. It's very important, right? Speaking in this manner in an everyday situation with a friend, it will be humorous. People will understand you, right? This kind of sentence, you can't even put it in normal conversations without there being a bit of humor. But this was a diplomatic occasion. This is high
Yeah,
level politics, and we
and
expect
we
more
shall put it on
accuracy.
screen for this purpose.
We expect more accuracy and eloquence from these people, and this is where mistakes happen. But I think that an average speaker has to realize and take into consideration their contexts and what is expected from them and how strict they are to an average person. That's the level they should apply to themselves, right? We're not talking about special political occasions in everyday life most of the time. So mistakes are much more tolerated in our first language as well, right? We can be much more creative if we're not having a conference talk.
Yes, or the whole nation to listen to us.
Yes. And I think this is true for video as well. I think you can talk about context there as well.
Yeah, I'd say there is quite a correlation between it. So yes, exactly. You do need to make some small mistakes to learn from them. But if you're trying too fast and going there, just trying to bulldoze it, it's not going to end well. So a couple of close friends that look at your videos can make it can suggest you what to make it better and how to make it better, or in a group environment in course the teacher and other participants can also do this for you. But if you just go directly into some live settings, it might not be that good.
And is there a difference between making videos for LinkedIn versus YouTube versus for your course? For instance, if you're making a course that somebody will buy.
Well, I'd say there is a difference, and in a level of how people engage there. So if you're making videos for any kind of social network, be it LinkedIn, Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, whatever, uh, people do not have time there to just look at the long format. Maybe in this live show, yeah, it's a different type of content. But if it's just a recorded video, they will not look at it the whole way. When you're on YouTube, you are basically just having a different TV channel there, because most of the newer TVs also have a YouTube app on them, and you normally see YouTube as a basic TV channel.
Mhm.
So there you can host much longer content than like what it's consumed on social networks via the mobile phone. So there is different in length and in attention span of the viewers. For the social network, it need to be dynamic. Yeah, here, just look at me. Something needs to be moving. Everything needs to be hyped completely. Yeah. And while you just sit there, maybe in the front of a TV, maybe just sit quietly in sofa and look at your mobile phone, you prepare yourself to look at 1 hour of content, perhaps, and there is no problem that the information flows more slowly and it's more insightful. So there is a difference where you want to put this video.
Hmm.
Does it make sense to you?
Yeah, 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 absolutely. The dynamics are different. What I was aiming at as well is
Oh,
whether you would have higher standards and you would expect more or want the people to learn a bit more about professional presentation when it's something like, for me, the only thing I can think of at the moment is making a course, like a digital course. That would be here. Perhaps I would
yeah.
think
So
about
like
lighting a bit
private.
more, about the sound and so forth.
Yeah, so when it's a private course and even group course, if it's paid for, people do expect to have a high quality, even if it's just about information and just the language, the sound. It can sound also quite different depending on the equipment used. So there is a difference there that you should use a better equipment, maybe some additional help from outside and not do it yourself if it's some course on the online platforms like, I don't know, Coursera. There are many of them.
Hmm.
I won't mention it. This is the first thing I get to. Even if you're just hosting it yourself on your own website. So there is a difference there also. And while on social networks, you see this video content as completely disposable. You see it maybe 30 seconds and you forget it next 5 seconds. So there is no real need for that extra quality.
Hmm.
And the
Yeah.
course will live for longer, and perhaps the person will come back to it after a couple of months and look at it again. So it's much more valuable content that needs to be treated that way also.
Hmm. Yeah, I think that's comparable to language in a way. You go from low stakes to higher in a way, and
Hmm.
your standards should be similar, and they're often aren't. People have this
Okay.
idea that they need to be ideal and that everything needs to be, polished at the level where that's not expected and it's not realistic. So I think we need to kind of help people
Okay.
with their
But
expectations there.
would you say it's different when you're perhaps somewhere outside on the street and just talking to anybody, someone, when you're basically a tourist and just asking for help how to get to some place, and when you're in a business environment? Should we aim for a more sophisticated use of language in business environment because we also need to show that we care about this?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. When you say sophisticated, this normally means that the language is more appropriate for the occasion. So slightly more formal. Formality can vary according to culture and the actual situation, of course. And
Yeah, but you
using,
also use more nuances in some words and just pay attention to exactly what is said and not how do I get there? Left, right, where?
yeah, 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 yeah. Vocabulary is the second thing that I was aiming at there, especially if we're talking about specific industries. Being very precise there helps. And this is actually where people feel the most comfortable in those situations because the vocabulary is something that is quite often very similar because you might have a Greek or a Latin root for some of those more complex words and they sound similar in English and Croatian and other languages. Not necessarily, but you will have that added help. And normally people know this kind of vocabulary much better than they think they do because it's part of their expertise. So I'd say that this is easier to accomplish than it sounds. And as you said, yeah, of course, you need to have a different approach to that sort of context. But when it comes to accuracy and grammar, you don't necessarily need to be at a very high level to express your idea. Because if you say, yesterday conference have on sustainable energy, right? It's not the correct order. You didn't use the past form, but the person would
Yeah.
understand you. And if they're trying to have some sort of business arrangement with you, they won't be looking at your grammar that precisely. So I've had a lot of students who were able to get to some really high goals without having that
Hmm.
polished grammar. So it's something that where I think we do need to lower our expectations and go towards accuracy a bit more slowly.
Yeah, that is a great point. So it doesn't need to be perfect, but there is a higher level of needs to be understood, and for you to understand the other person completely correctly, so there are no misunderstanding if there is a business setting.
Yes, and it's important to have those communication skills where you ask for clarification, you ask people to repeat themselves and so forth, so that you get there to understanding, because that can be more important than getting it right the first time.
Yeah, yeah, then that's also a great point, right? Okay, we are nearing the end, or did we say there will be half an hour today or an hour?
Yeah, I think we are flexible on the matter.
Okay, we're always flexible on that matter, even if when it was audio only. So I would just like to ask our viewers if they have something to add regarding this minimalist approach and how to go to with the.
Oh, here they are. Okay, the dogs were really afraid that they won't be part of today's stream, so they had to say hi, if even just for the end. All right, well, Darko is. Oh, you're back. I thought that
I'm
you were
back.
going to disappear on me again.
Treats work their magic, so.
Nice. I'm glad that they
No,
said hi.
yeah, there is only one of them, but yeah, she's fierce.
Only one.
But
Okay.
anyway, what I started was to ask our viewers if they have something to add. That now is the time before we just go. Oh, yeah, you put it also already there. Let's see who. Oh, I don't see it for now, and I don't see who's put it who put the comment there. But if you have something to add about little steps to learn such
It was
skills
Arnold again.
like English. Oh, it was Arnold. Arnold, you're a champ for supporting us via comments. Great. At least we know we're still alive. They're out there somewhere, even if we're
Yes.
lagging. Uh, about these skills like learning and improving English, and also seeing yourself on camera and shooting some videos with yourself as a main actor there. I don't know where I even started with this
I
subject,
am
but
not
okay.
sure if that was a question or a
Just
statement.
comment there if you have something to say or.
Well, perhaps we can conclude like we did last time. Making mistakes is the way to improvement. And that's really true. And it's something that we don't like hearing. And it's not, the most exciting thing to hear. And it doesn't sound very appealing, but it's true. And if you
Yeah,
don't go through that process, you're not going to get to your goal.
yeah, and we always get to these mistakes. So just the process of learning is just overcoming small mistakes, small fears that you have,
Yes,
or
and
even
learning
bigger
from
ones.
them. Absolutely. I think
Okay,
that's a
no,
good
we did.
place to stop.
We just ended now. Bye. This is it. or I don't see any new questions or comments. So thank you all for being with us this long time, nearly an hour, about a minimalistic approach in learning new skills like English and video.
Thank you very much. I know it's a long time to be with us, so I really deeply appreciate it.
Hopefully, it was not boring. There were some surprise guests also. So we see each other next week. Exactly same time, same place. Thursday, 8:30
Yes, hopefully without lag
local
next
time.
time.
Yeah, and without surprise guests that are now sleeping here. Hear you and bye.
Bye bye.